Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of All Access. It's a gorgeous day in New York as usual. I don't know how come the fall is so beautiful here, but it is beautiful. And I hope you guys are all having a great day. I want to share with you. I don't know what I want to share with you. I don't want to share anything with you. Let's just talk. There's a lot of things to talk about as usual. No, I want to share something with you. Let us share this. Hang on, share screen. They make it so difficult. Window, and then we're going to share this window. Okay, and I want to share this with you. This, I think this is hilarious. I don't know if you can see it. So Alibaba and Avalanche just signed a partnership. This is a big deal. It's an amazing deal. Alibaba is an entity that requires no introduction. If you haven't heard of it, then crawl out of the rock that you're under and look into who these people are. They are incredibly, incredibly big. One of the world's largest online commerce operations, with a hinterland audience of about 1 to 2 billion people. So it's a very big organization. Jack Ma has been playing at the fringes of cryptocurrencies, and his company had not entered into the cryptocurrency game in any shape or form. He made some overtures, personal overtures to Justin Ma, a tiny bit maybe, but just because of the Chinese connection. But Alibaba had done no commercial activity in the blockchain space. Zero. And the very first thing they did today that they announced was a collaboration with us, with Avalanche. So as a community, we should be super proud. At Ava Labs, we're very proud. It is now a lot easier if you're an Alibaba person, if you're in that ecosystem, for you to connect to Avalanche, for you to stand up on Avalanche node, for you to participate in the network, and for you to deploy apps. There is so much to be done through this as a result of this. So it's just mind-boggling, and I am incredibly, incredibly proud that they ended up doing this with Avalanche. They know where the tech is. They know who the tech leaders are. Do I? Yeah, I do. It's very easy. I can look at all these people whose job is 724 manage mood on Twitter, right? There are a bunch of these kids. So you just get out there, you're just saying blah, 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 blah. Every now and then you sprinkle some Greek letters. Every now and then you invent a new word and you try to act like a thought leader online. And there's so many of these different kinds of maxis out there. And they miss the point. They miss the point. What is the point? The point is not, constantly dangle something in front of the audience here forever and ever and ever, and create this rat race where the sort of arrival of Godot is just always out of reach. But if you hold my coin, you maybe will get there. That's not the game here. This is a very simple game of improving people's lives, actually building things that work. It's that simple. Did they build something? Did it work? That's simple. Look at SPF. Did he build something? Yeah, okay. Did it work? No. Did he introduce something new? No. Did he teach us something? No. Now apply the same lens to other people you know in crypto. There are a billion of them. Did we learn something from this person? I have some people in mind. I'm going through the various different folks. Don't ask the question, was there incomprehensible crap scrolling through my timeline? That they will give you. But did you learn something? Did it make it through peer review? If it did, was the thing that resulted actually deployed? Was it actually good? Did it actually do what it said it would do? Where are those smart contracts? Where is that? It's like sharding. Where is that high performance chain? I don't see those. I know there is one out there. That's the one we built. But I don't see these other ones. So it's a simple game, especially in the aftermath of the failure of our boy genius, especially in the aftermath of our boy genius not being jailed, then taking a stupid ass clown face from New York Times to other stuff and just parading himself in front of us as if everything is okay, and doing the exact same game as all the other influencers. Dangle some hope in front of people. Oh, if I were still in charge of your money, I would find a way to make you whole. He is doing the same thing. Meanwhile, all these other technologists are doing the exact same game. I haven't been able to figure anything out yet. I haven't been able to take this space forward. I haven't been able to invent the things that I said I would invent, or that I said we as a community would incorporate. Where are those? I'm not going to name them because people will take it very personally. But they haven't been able to do that. But if you trust them, they someday maybe perhaps will. That's the game they play. In contrast, from day one, we've been very forthright about the one thing, which is Avalanche is here with actual technology. We're here to improve what the world knows about blockchains. We're here to actually take the space forward. To that end, we brought you the biggest innovation in the space of consensus protocols. I don't mean like lipstick on a pig kind of innovation, where you take something that we already knew and you put some blockchain crap on it. So Tendermint redesign, Tender PBFT redesign, signature accrual redesign, and in fact, in the process, probably made unsound. A lot of these protocols out there are probably unsound. That is, they probably have a failure mode that is pretty disastrous. They're just kind of YOLOing and going on the hope that we won't encounter those scenarios, and we probably they probably will get lucky for very long periods of time. But there are real big chains that for the longest time were mispriced, thanks to Sam selling your coins and my coins, etc. Actually, not mine. I didn't have an account on FTX and Ava Labs. We were very much not affected by FTX's failure directly, but all of our people were. Everybody who kept their AVAX on FTX. I don't see that AVAX on the final balance sheet. It got sold, and it got sold to prop up some crap that stops twice a month. And so we're seeing a similar technological evolution. These people who are selling you an image. Oh, the crazy hair. Oh, he can't tie his shoes. Oh, he must be a boy wonder. Why is he so smart? Well, because he went to MIT. Do you know how many people go to MIT? I've sent so many more kids to MIT than I can count. Okay, so this is the world that we live in. It's just one full of images and curated curated icons being served to us. Every thought you ever have is placed there by some PR person, and these people serve you all this stuff. And some of the people are masters at this. It's like, oh yeah, let me now dangle some Greek letters in front of you so that you will think that all the innovation is happening over here. We don't do that. Okay, we go and deliver, and I'm super proud about this. We took the space forward in platforms, in consensus protocols. We took the space forward in bridges. We have the world's most secure bridge with the most TVL in it. We took the space forward in core, which is what I want to talk about next, in the new wallet experience. This is the wallet you ought to be using. And you should go and download it now. It really does make your life much better, and it is better than MetaMask if you're using MetaMask. So hang on, that's just the wallet. And we pioneered the space, in the space, we were pioneers in introducing fully encrypted exchanges. Exchanges where even Sam operating the exchange, even he could not misbehave and take away users' funds. The protection that you need isn't going to come to you from Washington. It's not going to come to you from Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler, everything that he has done so far has ended up keeping other people from putting legitimate coins out, and instead it has ended up turning people towards the meme coins of the world. So yeah, you can go buy Doge. Everybody knows it doesn't matter, and that's somehow okay. It shouldn't be okay. That's just unproductive economic activity. In any case, so we brought you fully encrypted exchanges. They build the protection in. The consumer protections are in the fabric of the exchange. The custodian or the custodial entity doesn't exist, and therefore there's no danger of Sam and his stupid polycule stealing our money. So hang on, but there's more, and I forget. So I did platform, bridge, wallet, and exchange. And there is more. I forget what else we've innovated on, but we've brought so much more technology to this space than anyone else. And you can take their entirety of blog posts and so forth and condense it all, and it comes out to, okay, well, we kind of have like chains that are doing signature accrual. Great, good for you guys. But it's a different world, and we're at the forefront of it with the new stuff that we've got coming out. Okay, so viewing, so Core just had a new upgrade and a new feature release. Now you can watch your DeFi portfolio across multiple chains. This is not something that's easy to do with any other wallet, certainly not MetaMask. So it's not a single chain. So a lot of people have the world's simplest, dumbest perception of how blockchains ought to work. That's because they got their vision from Satoshi. They stole it, and they added a little bit of a twist. And the way, of course, this happens in the blockchain world is you act like you invented everything from scratch. You act like there was nothing before you. And that's the dead telltale sign of a scammer. And I'll say it that way. It is not science if you don't come in. This is one of the biggest definitions. Okay, maybe I should back up a little bit. About 100, 140 years ago, in that time frame, there was a long, multi-decade discussion of what constitutes science. What's a discipline? What's a science? What's an area, etc.? What's a topic, right? So, and it's you can like those of you who speak English as who are native English speakers, you understand that those words mean something different. In fact, drastically different. One of the main things that came out is that for an area to be considered a discipline, not necessarily a science, but a discipline, it needs to have people who build on the work of others. And if you're not doing that, if you're unable to do that, or for whatever ego purposes, you refuse to cite the work that you build on, you refuse to tie your work into the existing body of work, then you're not part of a discipline. It's not in a scientific endeavor. It's as if we're writing a book together. We're adding chapters, pages to the end of a book, the same way, Bitcoin or Avalanche adds new blocks to the end of a chain. And if you're not doing that, if you throw everything out and you're trying to act like you invented some new stuff, whereas what you did was read Wikipedia and come up with new words for things that are already extant within, then you're not part of a discipline. And anything you do thereafter is going to be problematic because you're not scientific. So no matter how many Greek letters you put in, you cannot be engaging in a scientific endeavor if you're not even part of a discipline, let alone a scientific discipline. So anyway, I forgot how I got to this. I got kind of worked up this afternoon, this morning, right before this call. So, but the bottom line is there's a lot of this going on in this world, and Avalanche stands apart. It stands apart in every way. It stands apart with the partnerships it's bringing into the space. I told you all on day one that we were different, that we weren't here to cannibalize existing chains, and we haven't been. We're not a layer two. We're not trying to sidle up to anybody else's system and steal their applications. We're not trying to sort of fight for the same pie. We've always tried to bring in new people. And in particular, we brought KKR, the biggest asset manager in the TradFi world, to the blockchain space. No one else can say that. We brought now Alibaba into the fold. Okay, so we're bringing new business, new value into the space. We're bringing obviously new technology into the space, and idiots are out there like SBF parading themselves, serving you their image, making you believe that they bring something to you, whereas they don't. They're there to take your money away, and they're somehow getting this kid treatment, the sort of the soft glove treatment, and it's amazing. It's amazing, and it makes me mad. In any case, so I don't know how I got onto this tangent, but getting back onto my main topic, viewing our DeFi portfolio is now incredibly simple. I always said the future is going to be multi-chain. Those chains are going to be subnets on Avalanche. But there exist chains right now on which there have been some tokens created of value. So now Core supports them. So off the bat, you can open up Core and you can follow what's happening on Ethereum, on Avalanche subnets, and even on Bitcoin as well. So your assets on multiple chains are very easy to track, and you can add any other EVM chain as well. I'm not going to name their names. You know who they are. And it looks kind of like this. Whoa, this guy has a lot of money. Or no, this is actually, we're viewing some address. I don't know whose address this is, but whatever it is. So tracking your DeFi portfolio is really, really easy with this new stuff. And if you want to try it, go to core.app, and you should try it. It's really beautiful. It's worth a try. It's far better than MetaMask. Once you get used to it, you'll find it difficult to get back to use MetaMask. Okay, Avalanche is doing great in terms of every single metric that one could imagine. In particular, the thing that we care about in bear markets is activity. So chains, they technical problems don't kill chains. I know that I have a lot of people that I brought into the space first time, and they're very antsy. They get really freaked out about everything. Look at Solana; it stops all the time, and it just it doesn't have an impact on price. Perhaps because there's a certain whiz kid going around who was selling our AVAX or your AVAX on that you stored in FTX in order to prop up his coin. But whatever. Now instead, the real way in which chains die is through inactivity. And when I look at what's happening on Avalanche, it's at all-time highs. So gas usage is up, transactions is up. It's really nice to see this. And there's also some partnership with Airbus. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't even know about this. I don't know where I was. I think I was at a conference. That's why my voice is gone again. I came back to find out that Airbus had chosen to mint a whole bunch of NFTs on Avalanche. And this is not you can also always do some asinine play. If you got no technology, what do? You've minted a bunch of coins. You give them to a bunch of influencers to have them shill your coin. That's what these people did. We did not. And then so then the next thing you do is you try to buy your way to usage. And so they're dropping 22 million here, 24 million there, 52 million here and there. All of those coins are locked. So in the short term, they get an announcement. And in the long term, their counterparty is going to get a non-working system that goes backwards every day. These people haven't even figured out how to have a chain that only proceeds forwards. Their chain goes backwards. And they spend a lot of money for it. In contrast, the kinds of things I'm announcing here are things that just happened. I woke up to find that Airbus was now minting NFTs on us. If any of my competitors had anything of this kind of magnitude, we would never hear the end of it. My Twitter feed would be full of all sorts of gloating and so on. And for us, it's like, okay, great. This is good to see. There's much more to come. Anyway, so on that front, let's just kind of slow down a little bit and take some questions. My voice is about to crack and stop, so I'm finding it a little difficult to talk without straining today. In fact, I'm clearly straining to talk today, but I don't mind. Let's chat. Let's take your random questions. I always enjoy this, and they always cheer me up. Updates on websites, blogs, papers, books I read regularly. I will update you. I should have prepared for this. My team did not prepare me for this. So, that's something that hopefully my team is taking notes on. And if they're not, then I will have a different team and I should be ready for it. I am supremely forgetful, especially after the barrage of questions throughout here. Feels so private here. Yes, Alex, you were probably like poster number 3. Feels private. What are the current goals of Avalanche? What are the current goals of Avalanche? It is to digitize every single thing worth digitizing. We are an asset digitization platform, first and foremost. That's where the game is going to be. I was just at a panel at Princeton, and there were a bunch of regulators there, there were a bunch of academics there, and there are a bunch of other interested parties, of course. And the question comes up, what is the killer application for blockchains? Tell us so we can work on it. This is exactly the same as how the world was in 1994. I was a graduate student then, and the internet was just getting big. And people were quitting their jobs to become day traders on the internet. They were buying and selling .com stocks. I hope, I don't know if that sounds familiar to me. It kind of seems fairly familiar. And there were all these people running around ready to tell us all about the upcoming internet revolution. And everybody had their pet killer app. And I remember very, very distinctly, I remember supremely distinctly, multiple engineers from multiple companies. One of them was Hewlett Packard, and they should hang their heads in shame, but also quite a few others as well, that came by and gave talks. And they were these like visionary talks. Clearly the slides had been prepared by amazing designers, designers way better than anything that I've got at Alva Labs. Supremely slick designs. And this was their, and if you look in Bill Gates's book, this is what Bill Gates was saying as well, that this was going to be the future of the world, that the killer app of the internet. Bill Gates, by the way, missed the internet entirely. His book came out after the internet, and the first edition did not mention the internet once. So he is no visionary. He had no foresight. Nathan Myhrvold, his CTO at the time, was doing the circles, going around to academic institutions, talking about the shape of the future to come, about how cool a person he is. They always manufacture their own identity and feed that to you. It's talking about how he does have the claim to fame of having calculated that if the dinosaurs whipped their tails, they would break the sound barrier and they would make a whipping sound, like a kind of a sound, breaking sound. Okay, that's cool. So there we are, a whole bunch of impressionable young students trying to figure out from these luminaries how the world would look and what the killer app for the internet was going to be. And you want to know what they said? I'll tell you what they said. I distinctly remember having heard it from Myhrvold, from Bill Gates, from the engineers from Hewlett-Packard, especially those. Oh God, I wasted a whole full hour on this shit. And as well as many others. That one of the big killer apps on the internet would be that your refrigerator would tell you what you ought to go shopping for. So let that sink in. When you leave nerds in charge, and when you tell them, go come up with a vision, this is the kind of thing they come up with. Okay? They have incredibly limited lives and incredible inability to extrapolate, to generalize, to see the big picture. And there's a common pitfall. The common pitfall is, here we are in the history of time. We have no self-understanding, of course. That's the hardest thing to come by, is self-realization, right? It's easier to study other people. That's why we have anthropology. But sociology it's a separate thing. It's like anthropologists and sociologists are different people. There's like the ability to study other people is very different from the ability to introspect. In any case, so here we are, and then these people are blind about what happened. They don't understand what brought us here, but now they're pressed. They have to come up and serve a vision to you, and then they come up with some multi-step, confusing and incredibly fragile set of deductions. And then they tell you, okay, well, at some point everything's going to be internet connected. Fine, that's fair. And then by that time, like and somehow, okay, well, today I spend a lot of time coordinating with, my spouse about how to go shopping and what to buy. And now instead, wouldn't it be cool if the fridge told me that I needed yogurt or something? This is the world's stupidest idea. We should not be looking for killer applications. This is what I told the audience there at Princeton a few days ago. This is what I will tell you now. The core application for these systems, the one application that's going to succeed in the short term, is the exact same application that already succeeded in the short term when we look back. And what is that? It's the issuance of tokens. It's the digitization of assets. It's the creation of digital assets. In exactly the same way that the thing that actually succeeded on the internet was, at least in the early days, that made the internet into what it is today, was the ability to share simple, dumb things with other people. The cat pictures brought us here. Email was the killer app. The first app was the killer app. So we don't need to look into some complicated, insanely difficult, moon math splattered sets of Greek letters and proto-dank sharding and this and that. We don't need any of that to understand where the world is going. And if your chosen system is going to require or rely on people with those kinds of visions, be my guest. That's fantastic. You should take that road. I will see you in 3 years as you come back to Avalanche. We are here because we understand that there's about at least 700 trillion worth of real assets out there. And these assets are itching to be freed out of their silos, their vertical silos. Those silos are there partly for regulatory compliance reasons, which need to be accommodated. That those are forced upon us by law, but also, and much more importantly, they're there because somebody is collecting rent on them. And it's time to democratize that, because the moment you democratize those vertical silos, then the asset owner, the asset issuer suddenly makes more money because they have far bigger reach. And the consumers, they get much better access to products, and the middleman just collapses out of the picture. That's what brings me here. That's what I'm trying to do at Ava Labs, and that's why I'm on Avalanche, the system whose architecture matches this vision. I can do what I want on Avalanche. I could not do it on a single chain system. I can't do it on Bitcoin. It's not expressive enough. And I cannot do it on Ethereum. It's a single chain. And Ethereum does what Ethereum does. That's great. What it does is fantastic. But it doesn't do what I need to do. So I'm here first and foremost to allow people to take their assets and make them digital and allow those digital assets to be traded around the world. That's what brings me here. So just like what happened on the internet, my fridge never, ever got to the point where it knows what the heck's inside of it. It doesn't help me with my shopping. I don't talk to my fridge. I don't live a life where I would rather talk to my fridge rather than the person I live with. And so that vision was complete bunk. It turns out we live in a world where Amazon knows what's inside of my fridge far better than I do and far better than my fridge would, even if it could scan every item going in and out of it. Okay, those fragile visions don't go anywhere. I'm here. We're a very pragmatic chain. They're a very pragmatic set of people. And I hope that we attract similarly pragmatic people who are science-driven and who look for evidence and clarity. And that's what we've delivered to everybody since day one. So come on board. Are we not able to do other things? Of course we are. So Avalanche, by virtue of its architecture, can handle NFTs. No problem. We have a burgeoning NFT scene. Games are coming to us in droves. There's like 580-something subnets waiting on testnet. And there are a bunch of games that are really successful on their own subnets even as I speak. And there are more subnets coming online. So there's a lot of activity taking place. DeFi Legos of different kinds, the most innovative types, are now being launched on Avalanche because people saw in the last cycle that Avalanche was able to handle the load separation, was able to handle the fee isolation, was able to handle failure isolation. The subnet architecture works. I don't need to dazzle you with Greek letters to convince you that it's here and it does what it says it does. So here we are, and it's a much better world. And so if you're with us for the ride, that's fantastic. All right, hello everyone. Let's see what else. You guys can you guys see what I'm looking at? You might be able to see what I'm looking at. You can see how hard it is to read out of this and also to talk to you at the same time. Does the bridge present a centralization issue? Maybe, maybe not. So yes, of course it does. Everything presents a centralization issue. So you can't be survivors in this game if you do not look for the latent centralization in everything you use, the counterparty risks in everything you use. So I would love to look. Anytime you operate a bridge of some kind, you need to ask a simple question. Did a payment happen on the source chain to authorize the issuance of funds in the destination chain? That's the question every bridge asks. You could dress this up in complicated ways, etc. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to solve this problem. You're going to have to get some kind of a certificate out of the source chain so that you can authorize the issuance on the destination chain. How do you get this certificate? Well, it depends on who you're connecting to. Are you connecting to, a source chain from which it's easy to get a light client certificate? In that case, life is easy. Are you connecting to a source chain where, there's the APIs, etc., exported by that chain do not allow you to do anything other than, determine for yourself if the initial payment took place? Well, that's a different kind of a world. Our bridge is structured so that it makes no strong assumption about the source chain. And in particular, it's designed to be able to connect to legacy source chains like Bitcoin and Ethereum. We can't count on anything from Bitcoin. We can't count on anything from Ethereum. We couldn't even count from Ethereum on whether or not it would switch to proof of stake, what would remain in there as the proof of stake switch happened, what kind of signatures would appear, etc. So you need to design your bridge in a way that is general, that could be generalized to any other chains you might like to support. So the way we did this was with the help of a set of bridge operators, bridge nodes, and these bridge nodes serve a bunch of functions. One of them is exactly this. That is, they they monitor a bunch of chains for us, and they tell us when certain payments happen. So at the moment, there are 8 of these nodes, and we require at least 6 of them to say the same thing, that the payment happened. And so a failure of 6 all at the same time would constitute a problem for our bridge. So we monitor all of these six nodes, etc., etc. We have a lot of safeguards in place, but at the end of the day, that's a security requirement. We could increase this number to, let's say, 60 out of 80. But I don't know that that would make it any more secure. In fact, I think it would make it less secure, because now we have to ensure that 80 of these nodes are all running up to par. You won't believe the amount of effort that goes into keeping them secure, by the way. So it's substantial effort. So I think that would be net negative. It's kind of funny. Like computer science would tell you the more you have, the better it is. Or simplistic thinking. If you follow crypto Twitter, it's like the more decentralized, the better. Not really, not in this case. So if you crank that number up, imagine 800 nodes here. That's just too many. And you can easily have a failure that affects all 800 at the same time. It's guaranteed to be a monoculture. There's going to be common points of failure across that many. So there's an issue there that you want to hit just the right spot. You can't rely on one entity, because then you have singular counterparty risk. 2 is better, 3 is even better, and at some point the marginal value of another additional node is outweighed by the additional security requirements and monitoring requirements that they would bring. As a result, I think 6 out of 8 is just about right. And at some point, not in the too far future, we will probably double the number of nodes and double the threshold as well to something like, I don't know, 14 out of 16 or something of that kind. So I'm happy to do that at some point, but I'm happy with where we are, and I'm looking forward to what happens after that. So, star of the next bull run. I hope so. I think we've got the right set of people, the right technology, and the ability to absorb the growth that's going to be happening in crypto. So that's good. All Access is higher IQ than the Twitter Spaces SPF clown show. I know. I don't know if I mean, what's my IQ today? Probably like what? Barely triple digits, 100, 102. Not that I'm a big believer in IQ or anything of the kind. It's just I'm just pretty run down today, as you can hear from my voice. But that clown show is ridiculous. That guy needs to be in jail. It just flies in the face of everything that is right and good. And I'm obviously not a believer in conspiracy theories of any kind, but this show has lasted just a little too long. And there's the reality as I know it. And then when I go to read what's in the New York Times, there's a big discrepancy. And the longer that persists, the longer that feeds all of those conspiracy theories. I'm convinced that there's a machine out there that distorts reality, that Sam has tapped into that machine very simply by taking your money and giving it to the people who operate the machine. And it's absolutely abhorrent to see. Everybody involved should hang their heads in shame. Obviously, Sam is just a lost cause. He's just a thief and a fraud. Some people say subnets don't share security of main chain. Yes, some people say that. That's a stupid thing to say. Let me talk a little bit about this. Overlapping network topology makes inter-shard attacks feasible, blah, blah, blah. This is, no, not true. That's just bullshit and wrong thinking. Sure, if you load up all your chains onto the same set of nodes, then to compromise one chain will mean that you've compromised all of them. You can't compromise one without compromising all. Okay? Implications go that way. I can go on another rant right now. I'm trying not to. So this is what I've discussed. I'm going to go on my rant. Because I'm triggered right now. So there are some basic fallacies, and I've discovered them by being active on crypto Twitter for some time. I've also discovered some of these by being a professor. So when I was a professor and I used to say something in class, okay, let's try this. The exam this weekend or whatever, this exam this next Monday is going to be open book. You do not need to bring notes. You can just come in with your textbook. If I make this announcement, I guarantee you that 2% of the people will hear the exact opposite. I will immediately get a question that will go, do we have to take notes? Do we have to, can I take notes on multiple pieces of paper or something of that kind? And you just kind of like look like, what the heck is going on? I said the exact opposite. But there's a percentage that hears exactly the wrong thing. Now, when it comes to logical fallacies, the situation is far, far worse, especially on crypto Twitter. Not only people commit them all the time, they perpetuate them. They get other people to believe them. And it's just so frustrating to try to fight them. I'll give you a logical fallacy, right? So there's the counter positive one. So if P then Q, then what? That's the question. If P implies Q, a lot of people then think that not P implies not Q. Okay, so here's an example. It rained really hard and my basement flooded. Okay, and so a lot of people will then say, well, since it didn't rain very hard, your basement cannot be flooded. I'll let you guys figure out why that's the dumbest thing that anyone can tell you. Okay, there are a billion different ways in which my basement can flood. Okay, the sewage pipe can explode, the water mains can explode. There are a gazillion different ways in which that thing floods. Yes, if P happens, then Q happens. If that is true, that's great. But to get to the inverse of this, you have to take the counter positive. If I don't have a flood, then I can assume that there probably was not a big rain event. I can make that, I can say not Q implies not P. If P, then Q, not Q, not implies not P. But it's not the opposite case, okay? So okay, going back to what I said, these people believe that because the sort of commingling of chains intertwines the security fate of these chains together, they somehow assume that this improves the security outlook for the collection of chains as a whole. That's wrong. Beyond that, it's stupid. Why is it stupid? Because now, if you commingle the operation of these chains, then the performance of any one chain is implicitly tied to the performance and load on all the other chains. If I have 1,000 chains on my system, and I'm using one of these architectures that has shared security, okay, then any one chain that's consuming a lot of resources will impact every other chain, even if those other chains are entirely independent. If you're doing NFTs on one side and there's a mint going on, then suddenly you can't do DeFi. People cannot post collateral. They're getting liquidated because somebody is minting a bunch of monkeys. That's what shared security gets you. If instead every new chain brings in new validators, then the security outlook for each and every chain is independent from every other chain. And as a bonus, you get the ability to have independent performance, to have fee isolation. This is clear as day to me to see, but it wasn't clear as day to anybody else in this space. And so I spent 2017 until 2019 fighting it out with all of the trolls and some of the bright-seeming, very eloquent maxis on the internet. So these people, they're people I respect, but somehow they bought into this wrong framework and you just can't pop them out of it. They love shared security, not because it gives you actual shared security. You don't want shared security. It's not a desirable property. And maybe, okay, maybe let's pop out again, okay? Projects hardly ever fail in the hands of good people, okay? So if you have a well-spec'd out project, you know where you're going, and you give it to a set of people who know how to write code, they will get it done, okay? So either that, or on day one, they'll say, okay, you're trying to solve something that can't be solved. This is infeasible. You either get a quick no or typically a success. But projects often fail to achieve their goals. And I don't need to name examples of this. There have been many false starts, right? VDFs, VRFs, accumulators, these were all flying around and they led to nowhere. They failed to achieve their stated goals. Shared security is one of them. It's a bad idea. I took so many arrows from so many idiotic maxis from so many directions, and I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing it, and by now it's discarded. Shared security is not a desirable property. It just isn't. You have a chain. You either trust it or you don't. You don't want to commingle all of your chains onto the same set of nodes, because if you do, then the maximum performance you can achieve on them is limited. Then anything implicitly then is tied to everything else on every other chain. You don't get performance isolation, you don't get fee isolation, you don't get any other isolation properties. And failure isolation is one of the main things that you want in security. You do not get that either. So projects do not fail typically in the hands of good people. They fail in the hands of bad people all the time. But assuming people are semi-competent, they don't fail. They end up solving the wrong thing. They end up solving a problem that nobody needed solved, or they end up solving a problem that doesn't go to the heart of what needed to be addressed. So that's what we need to do. And I think to date, we have done all of the exact spot-on bullseye calls on everything technological. So don't listen to these people on crypto Twitter. Shared security was a dumb idea all along. And look where they are now. Like who's around to defend the shared security idea? Show me a system with shared security. So, the reason why they love shared security is because they think that that these chains will end up using their token and consume it, and therefore they'll get a tiny bit richer. That's not how you get rich, okay? That you do not get rich in this game by having tiny little transaction fees and and somebody else occasionally, like every few minutes, checks in a little hash onto your chain. That's not going to make anybody rich. Layer 2s are not going to make you rich if you're the layer 1 underneath. You know what will make us rich? Bringing on new use cases into blockchains. That will make us rich. Making them blockchains more useful for a wide swath of society. That'll make us rich. But this other asinine play where you're like, I'm going to give you something, and then if you use it every minute, then maybe I'll sell you some coins every now and then. That is the most asinine, most cynical thing I've ever heard. I share nothing in terms of values with those people. That's not what we're about. And the layer 2 vision fails at many different levels, technically, but it fails at the fundamental value level. You're trying to extract value in a fashion where you are not actually providing a core value proposition to people. All right, 2 questions. I can't handle that. I can handle 1 question. I mentioned that governance has implications for AVAX because of their security. Could you say more about what you're thinking? No, because it gets into legal issues. That's a fair question. Yes. And let me tell you what I am thinking. There have been people out there who have suggested. So it goes like this, just like they've run into the same fallacy. Okay, so no one knows what the security is, right? There are some tests and so on, but you need to apply it, etc. But the thinking goes like this: stock certificates typically come with voting rights. So voting rights and stock certificates exist, and stock certificates, stocks are securities. Ergo, they say, if a coin comes with voting rights, it makes it closer to a security than to something else. That's the thinking. I will leave it up to you guys to find all of the logical fallacies embodied therein and make fun of the people who have touted this argument. I cannot do it here publicly myself, but it is something that I have heard from people, and it's heart-wrenching. It's just a bunch of fallacies and complications. You can vote on anything you like. Voting is a fundamental thing you could do at any time, at any point. I can use any device, any mechanism for voting. All of these are sensible things, and so what makes something worthy of regulation probably has nothing to do with whether or not voting is involved in this operation. I just participated in a neighborhood poll just this afternoon. I don't think that was a security. I don't think, I'm hoping that there's nobody in DC who was idiotic enough to claim that that was. But people lose their minds when they encounter a new format, right? In exactly the same way they lost their minds when the internet came out. So when the internet came out, people lost their crap. They lost their shit. I'll just say it. I'll try to be more PG-13, but today I'll be less PG-13. So they lost their shit. Why did they lose their shit? Because anyone could speak, and no one was accustomed to that. And one of the first things they tried to do was, okay, well, then you need a driver's license for the internet. That was one of the first ideas out of DC. All these boomer senators, they could not handle being criticized by people that they could not then sue. And therefore, they wanted a driver's license. They wanted you to have your ID in your hand as you posted on Yahoo forums, so they could come after you and say all sorts of, and do all sorts of things to you if you misspoke about one of the statesmen, elders, etc. Usually, it's always guys. It was all bunch of guys. And anyhow, so in a similar fashion, I think people have all a visceral reaction to blockchains. It's like, okay, well, we got to make sure that we know who our counterparties are at all times. Okay, we don't. Like the corner bodega in New York, they sell a bunch of things. They don't know who they're selling to. Sometimes they sell to murderers, and they sell rope to murderers for torture, bind, kill, whatever, and they don't know. Should they know? Wouldn't it be great? I mean, at some point you got to say we have to stop we have to pursue crimes for what they are, and we have to let people live their economic lives in the most free, sort of frictionless way possible. And we should not encumber everybody who participates in the financial system with financial enforcement. It's not our, the corner bodega's job to police what's going on. Anyway, I can go on this rant for a long time, but I'm going to stop. And so I'm going to continue. Avalanche is the only chain that doesn't sprout bullshit. That's I don't know if we're the only chain, but certainly one of the that's certainly a core value for us. On liquid staking protocols, I'm concerned about them. Oh, I could, but that's I'm a little bit worried about liquid staking. I'll tell you why I'm concerned about it. Liquid staking means that staking creates the foundation of security for a chain. So when you're staking, you end up putting up the nodes and infrastructure for the chain to take the necessary state transitions to ensure that all the funds are safe. That's the core idea in staking. Now, if staking becomes highly liquid and highly dynamic, then the security properties of the system can change a little too much, a little too fast. And they can change in response to changing dynamic economic conditions. And there is no system fast enough that can, or no feedback loop that anyone has devised that's fast enough that can respond to such dynamic changes. So that's my concern. I would like to, every night I go to sleep and I want to get a good night's sleep. And I want to understand the world as I wake up. That's a core thing that I want to be able to do. And that's not something I had, by the way, when I was growing up. When I was growing up, we would go to sleep, and 3 times in my life, I woke up, and about a third of our value, our assets, family net worth, had disappeared overnight. So we woke up, and there was a devaluation 3 times in my life. And it gets even worse, by the way. I'm sure this is something that's going to resonate with a lot of the audience members. If you look back in your family history, and I can do this for sure myself, this is very important in my family's history, at some point you find that for most people, I would say more than 60% of people out there, there was a forced migration where the entire family lost all of their value. They left everything behind, right? And I remember my grandmother talking about, and we left the breakfast on the table. Well, they left the table behind, they left the house behind, they left the property behind, they left everything behind. And they sure would have loved to take things with them on a ledger. So what am I driving at with this? I love predictability. I would love nothing more than to be able to wake up and understand the world I'm in. And I certainly, one of the main reasons why I work in crypto is I don't want value and assets to be at the hands of other people. We've seen how that's abused. So crypto assets are bearer instruments that cannot be taken away from you. This is incredibly important to me. Their value, even though the asset could not be taken away from you, the value of the asset and the security of the asset should be predictable. And if it's not predictable, then suddenly things can fluctuate on you in a way you cannot predict or prepare yourself for. And that's something that I worry very much about. And I want to be able to go to sleep and wake up and know the state of the world. I want to be able to plan my financial future and say, okay, I've got this much, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, the value of these assets can change over time. Markets are what they are. And we understand how that can happen, and that does happen. And we're kind of okay with it. As long as I can prepare for it, I'm okay with it. So liquid staking, I'm a little worried that things can change too much on me without me being able to react as other people or external events take place in the external world. Suddenly there's a liquidity crash. Suddenly people are taking their money out, etc. Those kinds of things can create unpredictability. And that's one of the main things I loathe on when it comes to financial things. All right, let's go a little bit more. I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to stop. I don't know about Satoshi and me, etc., but Avalanche stands apart. I'm going to say that. Avalanche does stand apart. Okay? I'm not here in front of you with some crazy hair acting like some kind of a college professor or a genius or whatnot. I could have been doing that. I didn't. I'm not here in front of you writing a whole bunch of Medium posts with words that I invented, refusing to acknowledge other people, skipping over people, inventing new moon math, trying to dazzle you with Greek letters. I could have been doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not here constantly dangling something in front of you guys, giving you roadmaps and complicated terms. I could have been doing that. I know how to do that. Trust me. And I'm not doing it. We never did that. That's not in our ethos. I leave that to all the other coins. Avalanche stands apart. It really does. We're not like the others. But Solana Vox never made any sense to me. Solana Vox is just some like random rotation. Traders trade in that circle every day. They keep warm. That's how they keep warm. You go into A, then B, then C. In every rotation, you lose a little bit of money. Maybe you make a little bit of money, but it's a net zero game. And those three things could not be more different from each other. Okay, one of them stops twice a month. The other one is dead already. And then the third one is actually the innovative thing. Avalanche stands apart. There's always been mispricings in the market, and there's been a significant multi-year determined mispricing in the market. And that mispricing is so deep that it gets reflected in the AI algorithms that trade these coins. So Avalanche went down when Solana went down with SBF. Makes no sense. And it's because Sam ended up training a whole bunch of machine learning models. That correlation has been broken now. But in the early days, it drove us mad. It's like, why are we going down? We didn't do anything wrong. We weren't even affected by SBF. We're not a Sam coin by any stretch. So what the heck is going on here? So the world's a funny place, but we stand apart. We stand apart with our technology. We stand apart with our attitude, with our desire to bring value into the space from the external world. And we stand apart with our track record. So let's move on. Love the new core wallet. Yay! There are plans to add the ability to interact with the PN exchange. Yes, coming up next on the queue. So I can't wait to do staking operations through the core wallet. I can't wait to do exchange operations on the core wallet. So very much plan to. We will never get rid of the old Avax wallet. I think. I mean, not never, but we will not get rid of it anytime soon. But it should be, it should be the thing that exists if you want to go to it. But it should be fully supplanted by core. All right, epic rant. Okay, I have a lot of epic rants today. The chicken community, a huge bok. Yeah, but it's not bok where I grew up. Chickens don't say bok. And I'm not going to make chicken noises in front of you guys unless I hear you guys make the chicken noises in your language. And That's what I want to hear. So we're going to have to do it on a Twitter space or something with a bunch of people making chicken noises. I'll come to one of these chicken things and go do that. Okay, so can we make alternatives to Paraswap? Yeah, absolutely. Do it. It's open. And once you do that, it will be possible to add a tab into the core wallet so that people can use your swap as opposed to Paraswap. So it's core is completely pluggable, and it will be possible to add these safe extensions that live inside the extension, the browser extension. So you can extend the extension. So, what is it? Hey, dog, we heard you liked extensions, so we put an extension in your extension kind of a situation. What happened to the mobile wallet? I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. Do you think I forgot? I'm forgetful. I'm not that forgetful. I wonder when it comes out. So I'm co-founding a sour lime export business in Brazil. Fantastic. I want to issue tokens representing ownership in Avalanche. Just issue the tokens. What is the process? I think, Luis, it's a great question. The thing I would suggest, this should be a 15-minute operation for you. But clearly it's going to take a little bit longer than that. I suggest you go and find a technical person to help you with this. There are tutorials on the internet that you can follow. Okay, I lied. It should maybe take you 45 minutes with reading the tutorial if that's part of the job. But like with about 5 or so command line arguments or operations, you should be able to create the tokens that you need. And then those tokens can be traded. You can put those tokens inside Trader Joe, create a pool for them so people can buy and sell them at any time, get liquidity for these things, and potentially redeem them for whatever you export. So if you need help on this front, do feel free to ping the user community in our channels. Use it for this. Everyone will love it. You could use the Portuguese Telegram channel. We have one. You could get in touch with the Portuguese speaking community manager, so they can direct you to me or to us, to the company, or you can just contact. Just call. You can also DM me somehow, or message me, or email me. You can email me, and I'll connect you with some business development people who might be able to help you. If 100% of all transactions were to happen within Enclave, where does the price discovery come from? Thank you. So, Einstein used to do these things that he called Gedanken experiments. Okay, it's a great word. I love using that word. All it means is a thought experiment. You think about an absurd situation. You think about something that's really extrapolated that really doesn't make sense, but it allows you to think about, what's going on. This is a great question. So, clearly, Enclave Cross, the product that we have there, is designed to take its price input from somewhere else. So what happens when Enclave Cross is very successful and people are using Enclave Cross exclusively, then how do we do price discovery? So that's a great question, and there's a simple answer to it. So in the future, you can't possibly get rid of all spot markets. The spot markets have to exist for you to have a healthy cross market. In the same way that spot markets have to exist for you to have healthy derivatives markets, futures markets, options markets, perpetual markets, etc. So these things go in tandem, and if that were the case, then tiny. So just imagine the world before 100% of the trades are happening on cross. Then the price would never move, and it would indicate that people are happy with the price. But I suspect that somebody will be like, hey, I don't want to sell at market. The market is above or below where it should be. And I want to go and put a limit order someplace. And that limit orders cannot be placed on cross. So they will have to then, at that point, they will want to go to a different location. That location is a spot market that has limit orders. And they would have to then, as of this moment, they would have to go to Binance or some other site like that. If I had my ideal universe, they would not be going to Binance or any other centralized exchange. I don't know what else needs to happen for the universe to send us a message that says, do not use centralized exchanges. Do not put your coins and assets in the hands of other people. I don't know what else you need from God. God these days does not send tablets. Okay? Like the last set of tablets, I believe, arrived 5,000 years ago, and then a bunch of books arrived, and I don't think he's in the business of sending books down either. So, and he doesn't come down with a giant stick and hit us on the head. He doesn't do that anymore. Like the fire and brimstone doesn't fall on our heads. Instead, he sends us maximal pain in the shape of a demonic whiz kid who gets famous because he's rich somehow, because he says he's rich, and because he has a PR engine that says he's rich and successful. And then a whole bunch of people start listening to him because he's rich and successful. That's how he teaches the world. Don't be trusting people like this, no matter how rich and successful they might appear. I don't know that he's going to be able to say this any louder. So what needs to happen is we need an exchange that's trustworthy, that provides a spot market. And what kind of an exchange does that? Well, DEXs are better than centralized exchanges because now at least you don't have the SAM problem. You don't have this guy who can take your coins and run away. But then you have all these MEV leeches that come in, and that's not good either. So instead, then what do you have to do? Well, I think in my ideal world, what we would have is an enclave-like product, a fully encrypted exchange that actually implements a central limit order book. Imagine FTX, imagine Binance, but take away the part where the operator holds the coins. Take away the part where the operator of the exchange can abscond with the coins, where they can steal the coins and run away. Take away the part where they get to peek at your order stream and trade ahead of you, front run you. Take away the part where they sandwich you. Take all that away and make it a safe, secure, trustworthy trading platform. That's, I think, what's coming. And there's only one technology that can deliver that, and that is the trusted execution environment technology that Enclave is capable of. Enclave did not do that yet. The cross product is different, but there's a spot product that's coming down the pipe that I'm really, really excited about. Okay, do you think that Avalanche is going to pierce the APAC market faster than in the West? Yes, we're working for that. Yes, why not? I think one of the interesting things about the APAC market, I'll tell you this. This is the thing that sets the APAC market apart from the Western markets. Those folks don't give a damn about crypto Twitter. They don't give a damn about the machineries that are sort of in there manipulating what we all perceive. They just look at what works. Is it of any surprise to me that Alibaba picked Avalanche? Absolutely not. Should it be surprising to you guys? You all speak English, and I know a lot of you are on Twitter. It should be pretty darn surprising. We're not. Just look at what's happening on Twitter. Just look at like the people that are sort of in the front lines there, and reading that, you would think that these people are solving the world's real big problems. They've done jack. They've done nothing whatsoever. It's in exactly the same way that Sam talked about effective altruism and did nothing. These people keep on talking about crypto values and this and that. They do a lot of gatekeeping. But at the end of the day, look at what they did. Okay, so right. So what's our big advantage in the APAC world? They love tech. We've got tech. We're one of the very few people who actually has genuine tech and genuine new stuff. So on that front, I'm going to stop. My voice is gone. I'm tired. I've been straining to speak all day, but I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you guys about this. Lots and lots of ranting today. I'm in a very ranty mood. And now I froze. It's just an appropriate ending to an appropriate day. I'm going to stop and say goodbye to you all. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend. I hope that we will be talking again soon. And I don't know why this thing stopped and paused, but we'll just have to deal with that from here on out. Thank you very much. Have a great day.